All right, Nesquik. Today, September 15th, starts Hispanic Heritage Month. I guess it starts September 15th and ends October 14th. It actually ends October 12th this year, I'm reading. Oh, it actually ends October 15th. I am correct. Each year, Americans observe National Hispanic Heritage Month from September 15th to October 15th, and we celebrate the histories of Spain, Mexico, the Caribbean, and Central and South America. The observation started in 1968 as Hispanic Heritage Week under President Lyndon Johnson, was expanded by President Ronald Reagan on August 17th, 1988 to cover a 30-day period. The day of September 15th today is very significant because it is the anniversary of independence for Latin American countries Costa Rica, El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, and Nicaragua. In addition, Mexico and Chile celebrate their Independence Days on September 16th and September 18th, respectively. Nesquik, do you celebrate National Hispanic Heritage Month? And you are Dominican, so tell us what it means to you.
I'm actually, for anyone in the squad that doesn't know, I am actually an immigrant. So I was born in the Dominican Republic. We migrated here. I was 4 years old, so Spanish is my first language. That's actually, I did a beauty pageant a couple of years back. That's my dad out in DR. And basically, it was for this time exactly, like for Hispanic Heritage Month. So you know, we brought together a bunch of different women from different countries, El Salvador, Mexico, Colombia, Cuba, Argentina. I grew up in a very heavily Hispanic-dominated community, so Hispanic Heritage Month is actually huge for me. Growing up, a lot of people around here spoke Spanish. I grew up in Union City, New Jersey, which is the most densely populated city in the United States for its square foot, actually. So we all live one on top of the other, and it's like so many Hispanic small businesses. Everyone pretty much spoke Spanish growing up. So I was in a bilingual school at first, and learning English was actually pretty interesting because everyone around me spoke Spanish. And even being an immigrant here, so many different opportunities to learn about other cultures, although like there's so many similar morals and values in Hispanic or Latino culture, you know. Though we migrated from here, a lot of the values and morals growing up at home were still very in touch with like Dominican culture. So there were a lot of times where there were kids that I knew growing up whose parents were like a lot more lenient about like sleepovers or whose house you can go to. And there were a lot of things that I didn't really get to experience because it wasn't common in Dominican culture to just kind of like, you know, hang out after school. Like there were a lot of things that were very different from me because although we were growing up in the States, it was still like a Hispanic, like Dominican rules, as if we never left the island. But it definitely shaped my character, shaped my work ethic.
How old were you when you came here?
I was 3 years old, 4 years old.
So do you recall going to school and not speaking English, or you don't really recall that?
I actually have very vivid, which is kind of this picture here. I'm like maybe, I don't know, like 6 or 7 years old there. Like I spent my first few years in like a bilingual private school, and my teachers spoke Spanish. So I actually do.
So at least your parents didn't just throw you into public school, and you didn't have that culture shock of, oh my God, what's going on here? You know, I'm the only one who doesn't speak, you know, English. You didn't have that.
But even so, in this area, there are a lot of Hispanics. There's a lot of Mexican where I grew up, a lot of Dominican, Puerto Rican. Everyone in school growing up, ironically enough, in this area, Hudson County, New Jersey, is very, very Hispanic dominant. So I saw like people that looked like me. If anything, growing up, there was probably like one Caucasian girl and like one African American, and everyone else was Latino. Well, Hispanic Heritage Month was huge.
Do you recall your parents struggling, or was it an easy transition?
Yeah, so my mom back in the Dominican Republic, she was a single mom for the most part. So she worked 2 jobs out there. Then when we moved to the States, my stepfather really took on the working hat, and him as an entrepreneur too, joining different businesses. He kind of like really figured it out
and that's
for
himself. That's your stepfather right there in that picture.
Well, the picture, just the two of us, that last one, that's
Yeah.
my dad in the
Oh,
Dominican
I
Republic.
was gonna say I was gonna say you look very much like your stepfather. So I'm like,
No, no,
okay.
no, that's my
I
biological
see.
father who's
I see.
the Dominican Republic. So I go back to the
Right.
Dominican Republic every summer.
I see.
That's my stepdad there
Right. And that's
in this
you as
picture.
the beauty queen.
Yeah, I was actually in that particular one. I was like Miss Hispanic New Jersey at that time.
Yeah.
Happy Hispanic Heritage Month to you, your family, your friends, your
Thank you.
compatriots, everybody from the Caribbean, Latin America, Spain. It is National Hispanic
Yeah, I
Heritage
love this
Month.
time.
And go enjoy your culture and where you come from and celebrate it and
Yeah,
enjoy the entire month.
very proud. A lot of color, a lot of culture, a lot of
Yes,
love.
yes. Despite it being National Hispanic Heritage Month, the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals yesterday has lifted a block on Trump ending the temporary protected status for people from El Salvador, Haiti, Nicaragua, and Sudan. So now immigrants who have TPS, temporary protected status, they have been living here because of either natural disasters or because of strife in their particular country. That's why TPS is given 10, 20, 30 years. Well, Donald Trump is now ending it. And he was sued. There was an injunction. And now he is able to, as of yesterday, fully end it. For Haiti, for Nicaragua, for Sudan, it's going to end in 120 days. In El Salvador, it's going to end in 365 days. Now, immigrants from El Salvador make up the largest group of TPS recipients. There's an estimated 263,000 people from El Salvador. Paul Andre Mondesier from the National TPS Alliance said in a statement, to end protections for TPS families, including the more than 130,000 who have been risking their lives as essential workers in the midst of COVID-19 pandemic, would be very cruel. Well, it is very, very cruel. You know, the case is likely, however, and hopefully, to be appealed to the Supreme Court. If it is appealed to the Supreme Court accepts that appeal, then the TPS protections will continue. Let's hope that happens. Meanwhile, Joe Biden has said that he will continue TPS. He is headed to Central Florida today, where he hopes to shore up support among Latino voters. A recent poll of Florida Latinos, and by the way, if Joe Biden wins Florida, Trump does not become president again if Joe Biden wins Florida. And Michael Bloomberg has already given $100 million to commercials in support of Joe Biden. A recent poll of Florida Latinos show Biden leading among Hispanic voters 53% to Trump's 37%. And you want to know who ends up winning the election? Whoever gets their voters to vote. Because I think everybody, for the most part, I mean, you got to be in a coma by this point if you're like, I don't know who to vote for. I think everybody has kind of made up their mind. I would find it I would think it would be very, very rare that you find people, probably less than 2, 3, 4%, who are like, I have no idea who to vote for. I would say 95, 96, 97% of the people, even if they say they're not sure who they're going to vote for, know who they're going to vote for. So it really comes down to, is Biden going to get his voters out? Is Trump going to get his voters out? If Biden gets his voters out in Florida, Biden wins Florida, Biden's going to be the president. Trump can't win the Electoral College if Biden wins Florida. If Biden loses Florida, Biden can still win if he wins Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Minnesota, Arizona. There's Nevada, North Carolina. He's got to win, I think, 5 out of the 7 of those states to win. But it all comes down to who gets their people to vote. Now, as far as TPS is concerned, if you are part of TPS, you will fall out of status if the Supreme Court doesn't take this up. If you're from Haiti, Nicaragua, Sudan in 120 days, El Salvador in 365 days, that doesn't mean that in 121 days, someone's going to come knock on your door and look to deport you, simply because there's just not enough Department of Homeland Security official, there's not enough jails, there's not enough immigration judges to go and deport an additional 300,000-400,000 people on top of the hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people that they're already putting in deportation. Also, almost everybody who has TPS most likely has been here at least 10 years or more. they would all be eligible for something if you are put in removal proceedings. First of all, you're eligible for a full constitutional hearing, which will take 2-3 years to go through. And if you have been here for more than 10 years, you're eligible for something called cancellation of removal if you can show extreme and unusual hardship to a family member, such as a parent, child, or spouse. So hopefully you have some family here as well. You could also try to figure out how to get a green card. There's lots of people who are hiring me right now and going through a process who have TPS. And there's another rule, by the way, there's another rule with TPS that a lot of people with TPS got advanced parole. They traveled home, they came back, and they used that second entry in order to show a legal entry if they married an American citizen, or if they were going to have their children who are U.S. citizens file for them and they're over the age of 21 to adjust their status, because in order to adjust your status, you have to show a legal entry. And a lot of people with TPS originally came without inspection, then got TPS because of the natural disaster that happened in their particular country or the war that was happening in their particular country, then was able to travel on advanced parole, leave the United States, and return and make a legal entry on an advanced parole. Trump changed the rule and said that legal entry is not a legal entry for adjustment of status if you're married to a U.S. citizen or you're going to get sponsored by your U.S. citizen son or daughter who's over the age of 21. However, a recent rule by Department of Homeland Security, and by the way, that's going to be another lawsuit, but a recent rule by the Department of Homeland Security says if you traveled before August 20th, 2020, it is a legal entry. If you traveled after August 20th, 2020, it's not. And I would assume that most people who had advanced parole have already traveled at least once. That's what's going on with TPS right now. If in fact this turns out to be true, what a horrible, inhumane violation of decent and basic human rights this is going to turn out to be. A nurse at a Georgia Immigration and Customs Enforcement detention facility is accusing the detention center of allowing an unusual number of hysterectomies to be performed on immigrants detained there without their consent. In a whistleblower complaint sent by Project South to the Department of Homeland Security and its Inspector General, a nurse named Dawn Wooten described poor treatments of migrants detained at the Irwin County Detention Center, including limited and negligent medical care and minimal testing for COVID-19. The facility is operated by LaSalle Corrections, a private prison company, something Joe Biden said he will stop. Joe Biden said there will be no more private prison companies. The let's make a dollar or let's make a profit on imprisonment of people has to end in 2020. Now, this whistleblower complaint alleges that immigrant women were frequently sent to a gynecologist outside the detention center who frequently chose to remove all or a portion of the detainee's uterus or womb. One detained immigrant said she spoke with 5 women who were at the facility from October to December of last year, all of whom had a hysterectomy. She also said that one young woman needed an ovary removed because of a cyst, but the doctor removed the wrong ovary, ultimately requiring the removal of both ovaries. The whistleblower said she still wanted children. She has to go back home now and tell her husband she can no longer bear children. She was not all the way out under anesthesia and heard the doctor tell the nurse that he took the wrong ovary. Wooden was among multiple people described in the complaint as saying that some women did not know that the procedure was being performed at all and were not told exactly what the procedure entailed, especially if you don't even speak English. You probably, maybe they didn't even give a translator.
Wow.
Another woman reported being given 3 different answers about what procedure would be done on her. The complaint also described accusations of limited COVID testing at the facility, a lack of adequate medical care, including not giving detainees life-saving medications, and overall neglect and absolute disrespect for anybody's pain.
That is insane.
That is more than insane.
How do you perform any type of surgery without having people understand what you're even doing?
That's disgusting.
How does that happen? You can say, you can guess a lot of different things. I mean, you can guess the most sinister thing, which is, the Trump administration is trying to prevent people from coming to the United States. They want to have unnecessary medical care on people, let them go home and tell their stories and scare everybody from coming. I mean, that would be the most insane of all. I have no idea. I'm taking guesses. I'm not saying that's what's happening. You could also guess that perhaps the facility makes money on operations, on giving medical care. So there's different costs and charges that they can charge the U.S. government for different medical care. So I guess the facility, I would presume, I don't know this for a fact also, maybe they send a bill to the United States government every time they have an operation on a detainee. So they're just making operations for people to make money. I don't know. You can guess a lot of reasons why. You can guess a lot of very sinister, disgusting violation of every human decency if in fact this is what's happening. And you can guess, I don't know why it's happening. We'll find out soon enough. But if it turns out that this is happening and it's true, that is horrible.
That story you just said where the lady has to go back home and tell her husband, I cannot have any children. Like, in cultures, I don't know how it is, and in cultures that you know of, but like with my culture, that's like something that, that's like the only thing, you feel like you're here for is to, give your husband children. It's like the feeling that you cannot provide that for him. And it's because of something so evil like this. It's sick.
And what about you going to escape violence and this is what you get?
Right.
I mean, you're leaving a violent place to coming to get unnecessary surgery and to remove all of your female parts that you can't have children anymore?
Yeah, that's evil.
I just don't even want to think that this is something that's happening so that these people don't bear children in the United States. Like, I didn't want to say that thought out loud.
That could be a reason, too. I mean, you can come up with a lot of reasons. All of them are inhumane and cruel and, as Jonathan said, evil. I hope it's not true. This is a whistleblower complaint. There will be more. We will follow this story.
So this lady is the nurse that said it.
She is the nurse who said it. We have one person at one facility who said this. So let's hope it's not true. I mean, if it is, let's see. We will follow the story and see what's happening. Meanwhile, the Justice Department has opened up a criminal investigation into the mustache, John Bolton. He was Donald Trump's former national security advisor. He wrote the book, The Room Where It Happened. The investigation comes after the department failed to stop the book's publication. They claim that in the book, John Bolton released classified information. This sounds to me like it's more like I'm going to use the Justice Department to investigate my enemies and really scare people into writing any bad books about me. If I'm Donald Trump, that's what it sounds like to me. Now, Bolton confirmed elements of the Ukraine scheme that prompted the impeachment of Donald Trump. Trump said on Twitter that Bolton broke the law and should be in jail. Money seized for disseminating for profit highly classified information. We'll see what happens with that. Louisville has settled Breonna Taylor's wrongful death lawsuit. The city of Louisville, Kentucky has agreed to pay $12 million to the family of Breonna Taylor, the 26-year-old EMT killed by police 6 months ago. Taylor's family sued the city after Louisville Metro police officers broke down the door to Taylor's apartment and fatally shot her while executing a late-night no-knock warrant on a narcotics investigation in March 13th. A CNN review of the shooting found that police believe Taylor was home alone when she was in fact accompanied by her boyfriend, who was legally armed. The miscalculation, along with the decision to press forward with a high-risk forced entry raid under questionable circumstances, contributed to the deadly outcome. $12 million, Yo-Yo. I'm sure you have something to say about this.
Okay, so is that going to bring her back? Okay, so where are the cops? Are they arrested?
Right.
Because that's what we've been fighting for. That's what we've been calling the station for. We've literally, me and my friends have literally called every week saying, hey, you guys have to arrest the killers. of this lady. So is this $12 million just hush money? It kind of pisses me off. Like, say this was me that got killed. I'm not going to be able to do anything with this $12 million. If anything, if this, you know, God forbid, if anything like this happened to me, I would want the killers in jail. F the
Yep.
money. Like,
Vanessa.
That
that's
doesn't
wild.
justify it. It doesn't justify the action. Okay. We can't bring this person back, number one. Like, that is no amount of money will ever bring this family full peace because this young woman did not even get to see her 30s, number one. So in terms of where is the justice doesn't have a price. These people acted wrongfully and they're still walking free. They can do this again.
They go to jail.
My opinion.
They go to jail. That's what they deserve. Doesn't bring her back. The money doesn't bring her back. Nothing brings her back. You don't get justice when you lose a young woman for no reason, sleeping in her bed, being at home. There is no justice.
You don't.
There's no justice. The money,
There's
the
no
jail,
justice.
there is no justice. The only justice, and it's, you know, after the fact, is you say, if this brings about change, then her life was a worthy life. It would be very sad for somebody to lose their life and everything goes back to being the same.
Right.
But there is no justice no matter where you look at this.
There's no justice, but at least I, as a family member, would feel a lot better knowing that the killers of my, you know, family member cannot just roam the street free and live their life normal, you know, and my, you know, sister, daughter, mother, whoever, you know, she is to me, will never be able to walk this earth again. You know, $12 million is not going to do that for me.
Right.
If it's a family member, a friend, there's no way I would have accepted that. It's just not going to.
A friend or a family member, if you said, here's $30 million and the person you love is no longer here, I don't want the money.
I don't want the money.
I want the person who I love.
I don't want the money.
I want the person back. That's what I want.
Right, and you can't get it back, and that's the sad part about life. And
Exactly.
the sad part about what happened here.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, a crawling Hurricane Sally is threatening historic rainfall in parts of the Gulf Coast. We have historic fires in California and now a historic rainfall event that is about to happen on the Gulf Coast. The update raises fears that significant flooding is in store for Mississippi, Alabama, and the Florida Panhandle. The Sally, which is a Category 1 storm with a maximum sustained wind of 85 miles an hour, is only moving at 2 miles an hour, which means that it's just going to sit over Mississippi, Alabama, and Florida and not move and just continuously dump rain. And when you hear hurricanes and the disasters that happen from hurricanes, the disasters happen from flooding, not from winds. I mean, yes, winds destroy things too, but the real disaster comes from flooding, and they're concerned that they're going to have a once-in-a-century flooding event in Florida, Alabama, and Mississippi as a result of this. Several shelters have already opened in the area. People are evacuating. It's not the wind. It's the fact that this is an extraordinarily slow-moving storm at 2 miles an hour. Think about a huge hurricane. How fast is 2 miles an hour? That would basically be you're at crawling speed. You're at baby crawling speed. And look how big that thing is on a map. It's going to rain for days and days and days unless this thing picks up speed.
Wow.
I hope it does.
I hope it does too.
I don't feel like those states are actually equipped, you know, for rain like that.
I don't think so either. And it's going to be historic flooding. And, you know, we say every day, you know, climate change is coming to a movie theater near you. I say it every day. It's just a matter of time. Whether it's rain, fires, it's coming to a movie theater near you. And we better do something about it. We better do something about it very, very fast. It's going to get worse and worse every year. Meanwhile, Yo-Yo and Vanessa call out the U.S. Space Force We have some work for U.S. Space Force finally. Donald Trump's new army in space. Scientists have detected a life form on Venus. The researchers are trying to understand what this toxic life form gas is. But there is some sort of life form in toxic gas on Venus. The mystery raises the possibility that Venus, the planet that comes closest to Earth as it moves around the sun, might have some kind of life flourishing more than 35 miles up in its yellow clouds. Could it be some green people? We need Space Force, yo-yo. Thank God for Donald Trump. He knew that there was going to be some life form on Venus. Maybe it's that guy right there. All right, we may not be able to stop COVID, but we will stop those green guys from Venus, that is for sure.
Maybe we need them.
Meanwhile, nothing could live on what passes for land on Venus, by the way. Its volcanic plains exceed 800 degrees Fahrenheit. So these living creatures are living up in the sky somewhere. They're flying around or doing something. You know, high in the clouds, the pressures and temperatures and the acidity levels are less intense, and that's where something living is. Maybe microbes. I don't think it's this green guy, but it's some form of living microbe flying around the gas clouds of Venus.
So is that like alien Earth?
I don't know. I think it's more like alien COVID, you know? Like little viruses, there's not little real green men going around, like little amoebas, little microbes, little something or others in those clouds. I would highly doubt that somewhere in those clouds is a flying green guy.
Well, I mean, listen, who's to say that a flying green guy can't, live in that type of world?
Maybe we don't see the flying green guy. It's very possible. Show us! Show yourself, flying green guy. Show yourself.
Show your face.
There he is. Thanks for watching. For more Brad Show Live, like and subscribe to our YouTube channel.